having put on the breastplate of righteousness. I believe that putting on the breastplate of righteousness is critically important, and it protects us from two different kinds of satanic attack, which could be considered two extremes that move us away from God's perfect balance and truth. The breastplate of righteousness. On the one hand, the breastplate of righteousness protects us from pride. We've probably all seen Christians who get so focused on their biblical knowledge and their authority in Christ that it has become a source of sinful pride and a source of arrogance. And of course, they don't realize it, but they're totally powerless. So when we put on the breastplate of righteousness, God is protecting us from that arrogance and that pride and that spiritual cocky attitude, esteeming ourselves better than others. Even self-confidence. You know, we as Christians don't really need self-confidence. You hear that talked about as if it were a positive thing. We need Christ confidence. A lot of confidence, yes, but not confidence in ourselves, confidence in Christ working through us. And of course, protecting us from self-righteousness. Many Christians feel like they're being basically pretty good people, and they get a feeling of self-righteousness. This is very dangerous. All of these things, God hates these things. They're sinful. And the breastplate of righteousness will protect us from this. Satan is very clever, by the way, at getting believers into this. And some of us are just especially susceptible to it. And most of the time, a Christian who's fallen into this is totally unaware of it. We just don't recognize it. We think we're being spiritual when really we're being arrogant. And if Satan can deceive us here, of course, he's going to greatly hinder our effectiveness in our work for God and our usefulness to the Lord. So putting on the breastplate of righteousness should remind us that all these things are horrible and we can reject those things totally. Now there's another extreme that many Christians fall into. Many Christians have these overwhelming, vague feelings of condemnation and guilt. They know how much they've sinned. They know how weak they are. They know how many times they've blown it, how many times they've failed. And if Satan gets his way, he will paralyze Christians with that stuff. You'll feel so unworthy and so worthless and so hopeless that you'll just feel like, well, I'm so undeserving, I can't expect anything from God, and I can't expect God to do anything through me. I've blown it too many times in the past. I'm too bad, etc., etc., etc. All that is sin. We may think it's being humble, but it's really being sinful. Satan knows that many Christians are susceptible at this point, and he'll hit hard with these feelings of guilt and unworthiness. And as I said, Christians become paralyzed at this point. They're not going to do anything for God because they feel so unworthy and so useless, and they think other people are going to have to do it. Well, it's an ungodly attitude. It's a sinful attitude, and the breastplate of righteousness will protect us from that extreme as well. Remember, one of the names of God is that He is Jehovah Tzidkenu. He is our eternal righteousness. He's the source of our righteousness. Righteousness is not something we obtain by doing all the right things. It's a gift from God. So we might want to start by remembering Isaiah 64:6, which says, all our righteousness is filthy rags. And just say to God, Father, I acknowledge my own righteousness is filthy rags. My good deeds are powerless to protect me from Satan. My good works aren't worth anything. My righteousness is weak and feeble and inconsistent and powerless. But you are Jehovah Tzidkenu. You are my eternal righteousness. Then it's good to remember that according to the Bible, God has made us righteous in Christ Jesus. That's in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21. For He has made Him, that is Christ, to be sin for us, who knew no sin. Christ knew no sin, but He made Him to be sin for us, so that we might be made the righteousness of God in Him. And because we are in Christ, we are in righteousness. There's a verse in 1 John chapter 1, verse 9 that says, if we confess our sin, He is faithful to forgive us our sin And then what? To cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Now, if we believe that, we are cleansed of all unrighteousness by His grace, by His gift. Then if there's no unrighteousness in us, what's left? His righteousness. So we accept the fact that He's declared us to be righteous. Another good verse along this line is Romans chapter 8, verse 1, which says, "There is therefore now no condemnation to them who are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit." No condemnation. He's already cleansed you of that. And so we receive His imputed righteousness. That's the only way we can obey Hebrews 4:16 that says, "Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." It's because of His righteousness. Now, of course, as He gives us His righteousness, don't get deceived by the enemy into thinking that you can sin and receive His righteousness and go on sinning. That's not true. When you do receive His righteousness, He begins to impart that righteousness to you in a way that enables you to obey Him, to live for Him. 1 John chapter 3, verse 7 keeps you balanced. It says, "Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as He is righteous." But of course, it's not our own power and it's not our own strength that's doing the right thing. And we all need forgiveness on a daily basis. So I hope you understand the point. We've all blown it, and we've all blown it badly. And even those who don't think they've blown it badly have blown it badly. There's no exception to that. So listen to this now and hear the difference. We must not ever think that we are good enough to do significant things for God. We're not. But now listen. By His grace, we have been forgiven, we have been cleansed, we have been declared righteous in Christ Jesus, and so we must not ever think that we are not good enough to do significant things for God. Do you hear the balance? We must never think that we are good enough to do things for God, and we must never think that we are not good enough to do things for God. We are able to do things. We're able to come boldly into this throne of grace. We're able to carry on the work He's given us to do because He has declared us to be righteous.